Sister Mary Morris will now come forward. I will, as best I can, introduce folks now. Obviously, I'll introduce everyone, or Bill will later in the point of the program. Mary Morris is just a marvelous human being who works with the initiative very closely as a part of us, but also she has a book out called Young Lions, which will be one of our Meet the Author series. For those of you who are not familiar, I think most of the board members of the African American Business and Community Development Initiative are here. Brothers, if you're here, stand, please. And Willie's at the door, and so there are 5 of us, and I don't know, and there's Larry, good, so there's all 5. Mary works very closely with us. We have a Meet the Author series. The first book was The Assassination of Fred Hampton by attorney Jeff Haas. We had an incredibly good time that night. Mary's book will either be the 2nd or 3rd book we profile. So you will get information on that as it comes. She will now introduce Mr. Bill Hampton. Give her a hand as she comes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. As you'll notice, I don't have any papers in my hand to tell you about Bill Hampton. I just asked the question, who is Bill Hampton?
All right.
I do know that he is the son of Francis and Iberia Hampton. And since I'm focusing on her right now, let me just go on. How many of us know someone that has lived 9 decades? What an accomplishment. Years old. Let's get mother. She's our matriarch. We are an African village, and she's our queen mother tonight.
All right. All right.
But who is Bill Hampton? He is the son. She raised him up, and her daughter and her other son, and he's just a wonderful son to his mother. It's a blessing for a parent to have a child that will take care of them and work with them. And we have one thing in common. I was with the public for 30 years. But he worked in the neighborhood. So he's an educator. But this man is one who is in hospitality. Probably most of you have been in their homes. And they're just so free and giving and loving. Such a warm household. But you don't recognize people that would ordinarily not be recognized. It doesn't matter who you are. This is a man that truly does not believe in separating. He recognizes everyone. And I love him for that. He's carrying on the legacy of his brother. He's carrying on the legacy of Dr. King. Dr. King was 39 years old when he failed. And he would have been 83 years old today. And you think about a mother, 90 years old. The wisdom that she has. But anyway, I'm going to sit down because Bill has got a lot to tell us tonight.
Amen. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Mary. I appreciate that. Just try to do what I can. And I think most people know me, know that I try to do what I can. I want to thank Robert Porter and his board and people for letting us have this wonderful, marvelous victory.
Amen. Amen.
I was in Bolingbrook this morning. I spoke there. Dr. King thing was nice, and Canaan ate over the weekend. So as we celebrate Dr. King, we must think of that Dr. King said it's not how long people live, it's what they'll do while they're living.
Yes. Amen. Yes. Amen.
Not how long you live. If you live a long time and not doing anything, then you're already dead.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
And also that everybody can be great because everybody can serve.
That's right.
Yes.
So we must all remember that and work as a unit. So what I'm going to do now is that we all know that back in Washington some months ago, I think it was in October, they dedicated a statue in Washington, D.C. of Dr. King. And I went, they had different families of people who had been killed in the struggle to come there. And they paid our way there. And so my mother said, Bill, you got to go, you got to represent us. So I went, and it was nice. It was the people represented. Some people had criticism of the statue. But I was glad to see an African American put in Washington, D.C.
Say that, brother. Say that. First time.
This is why that we celebrate Dr. King's birthday and going into Black history. And it's important. It's important. About 5 or 6 young people have come to me lately, Karen, and sit down in my dining room and asking me and doing articles on Fred, which is good. So it's good that we protect our history. The American history is important too, because we live here. I'm not going to push that aside. I took U.S. history in high school. I did a little bit of it in college. It's good. But we have to protect our African American history as the other people do. Yes. And not being funny, different things have been stolen from us, different things that we don't know.
Yes.
We didn't know about the Black Cowboy. We're just now knowing about the Tuskegee Airmen. So what does that mean? That if we don't protect our history, things will be stolen.
That's right.
The Globetrotters will be white. Joe Lewis will be white. Danny Davis will be white. After we all leave here.
Yes.
Karen Yarborough will be white. We'll forget that there was a black mayor in Maywood. We'll forget that Broadway had one.
All right.
Things have been forgotten. Am I right?
You're right.
That's right. And when State Rep Yarborough got in office, she had a list of black inventors that a lot of honor students, politicians, doctors, and lawyers, and so-called educated people did not know.
That's right.
So this is important that we not just celebrate Dr. King as being a great man, but know that Dr. King was a graduate of Morehouse, then went on to Boston College, grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, under segregation, saying that these things were denied of me. He born in a time of, rough time, born January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, graduated from Booker T. Washington High School in Atlanta at the age of 15.
That's right.
Then went on to Morehouse, and then became, his father was a preacher of Ebenezer Baptist Church, one of the largest churches in the United States, the largest Baptist church. So he had said that he just wanted to live a common life. And as he come to Alabama, Montgomery, he was a very eloquent person. They asked him to become a part of that movement. So that's where him and Rosa Parks and Reverend E.D. Nixon, Reverend Ralph David Abernathy all formed together to form the Montgomery boycott, which began to be very successful. And that was the height of the black movement, the modern day black movement. 1955, kicked off by Rosa Parks because she refused to set back because she said her feet was hurting.
That's right.
That ignited it. Then that same year, the tragedy of Emmett Till come in.
That's
so
right.
being in the Washington and all that was very worthwhile. And that's why we have to accept the people that are around us, and that I accept my elders and my ancestors, and glad to have my mother who gave me and my brother the sister the strip we got, Miss Iberia Hammond.
Amen. Amen.
A descendant of Louisiana.
Yeah.
I'm born in Chicago, but my roots are in Louisiana. I've witnessed things, the things that her and my father, both descendants of Louisiana, told me the things that happened and why we had to do better and fight better.
Yes.
And must continue that.
Yes.
And so we must continue to, as Dr. King gave his life, not just use it as a holiday, but
yes.
be beneficial with it and move it forward. And move forward, as Dr. King said, we can't give up.
That's right.
Can't give up. A brother told me the other day that was doing some work for us, an ex-Black Panther, said, Fred was the reason I quit school. I did quit school. He was a student at Austin High School. Schedule come out in 1969. So he said, so roughly I'm gonna quit. He said, Fred told me, so well, I'll tell you what, if you don't graduate, you're not getting in the Panther Party. And you don't go to college. Because we not street people, we are people, we may be militant, but we are, a lot of us are ex-college students.
Right.
And we are people that know what we're talking about, but not just talking. So he said that's what elevated him to finish school and become that. And see, people don't know that.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do now is that during the Dr. King holiday dedication, there's different festivities going on, but we have people in our community that we must recognize in some way.
Absolutely.
I believe in recognizing, and I'm not trying to flatter anybody, because before I flatter anybody, I just won't say anything. That's the type of person I am.
Amen.
So I believe in letting the people know and letting the public know what they did. I don't believe in going in the corner and telling somebody, well, Brown, you did a good job. I believe in telling them open.
That's
Amen.
right. That's right.
Open.
Amen. That's powerful, brother.
I don't believe in going in the corner and say, well, you know who you are, So I have to acknowledge you now. So I want Brother Johnson to talk. We have some people who want to acknowledge for certain reasons. You know, Dr. King said, I hope one day that my kids will be judged by character, by their character, and not by the color of their skin. And during that time, we remember James Meredith integrating Ole Miss as a law student. So we're honoring a lot of people who are first, who have set the stage. We have people in this community who are first. I grew up in this community. I remember when people who were in charge didn't look like us. Let's face it, they did.
Amen.
I never would have thought certain people would have been in positions in Broadview and Forest Park. And I didn't think that. So he's lying, so he's praying about it. So we're going to give homage and we're going to tell those people we thank them, and we expect if they move higher to help us, we must hold you responsible. So as I come forward, I want to